get public. I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk about it a little bit from what I can, but I can't say everything. So, oh yeah, what's up, Peacemaker? Your hands up, bro.
Yeah, just to touch on what you're asking, you were mentioning earlier about how to cash in on this like AI,
Yeah, how?
Bitcoin blockchain boom. I've been paying attention, especially because crypto has is doing what it's doing, completely tanking. It kind of like it forces you to expand your horizons. In fact, even the prop firms are now including in their opportunities to bet to place perpetual future trades. They have gold and copper and silver, and even you can even the U.S. 100 and the S&P are all available to trade. And so it has forced my own expansion of into stocks and into other sectors. And in doing so, I've just been doing a lot of research, and everything's pointing to investing in the companies that are both directly and indirectly related to this AI boom and the production of these data centers, for example. I have some mixed opinions on it because I think, morally speaking, I'm not sure where I stand on them, knowing the destruction that they're providing, that they're just the environmental implications, and like destroying people's lives, with the noise factor and absconding all the water and such. And so, investing in these things, it kind of comes with some mixed opinions. But if anything good is to come of this AI revolution, maybe good people getting rich off of it is one of them. And so what I recognize is that not only are these the companies themselves that are building these facilities, the chat GPTs and the Palantirs and such, but all the companies that are involved in making the systems run. And it is why we point to copper, for example. Just you can't imagine how much copper is going to be required to bring these things online. There's entire cooling systems that are necessary to facilitate the function of these machines. And there's specific companies that are positioned and have actually earned, just like it goes back to what you're saying about where are the patents. Well, in this case, where are the contracts? And the
Hmm.
contracts are lying very specifically with a whole handful of companies, all positioned to be fundamental in the growth of the data centers. And that this is where, in my research, listening to like seasoned veterans, giving seminars on where we should be putting our money, that this is it. This is what we should be doing. And I'm
Nice.
starting to suspect as well. I'll land here, is that what we see going on in the market right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. Everybody sees how overextended it is, so everybody's waiting for the crash or at least a substantial pullback. And I know, and meanwhile, it just keeps going and going and going. I finally decided, just I'm buying in, and if I end up losing money in the short term, then so be it. But at least I'm in.
Huh.
And so, yeah, so I did. I've invested in stocks, through my Schwab account. It's not trading. It's just buying in, and I did so in line with what has been recommended by these, I think it's seasoned veterans that know how to do their market research, are paying attention to where the contracts are at, and they're just passing this information on. It's all out there if you just pay attention. So this, I think, just answers the question, like how to cash in on this. It's to pay attention to the companies that are being contracted to assist in the revolution,
Yeah.
and it's a
Let me
pretty
let me ping
spectrum.
ping over to Indelible One. You look like you're pretty knowledgeable in that topic. So from your profile, are you on with us?
Yo, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How you doing?
Right on, Gavin. Nice to meet you, dude. I'm Ryan.
Ryan, hey, nice to meet you too, my man. I really appreciate it. I like your profile a lot. Looks like you're out of Houston, Texas.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just worked on the profile today. I was just sitting here. It's raining outside, so I'm not really going outside, but I was just sitting here programming on some stuff I was working on with building an indexer. But like, so cool space so far, man. Yeah, I think Bitcoin's gonna flip. Like, I feel that what we're in now is like the speculation era of everything. So, if we were to put a year on it, it's really like 1989. We're talking about Google and shit. You know what I mean? So while it's
Mhm.
early, I feel this is the time to build, and it's early, but it's not, because we have technology now, like especially Opus 4.8, where you can like build anything you want. So if you can like manufacture the idea in your head, which is the full complete code, then you can and put that into a computer and not worry about like how, then what you want to do is possible, right? So I think the limiting factor is the question how, because like if you were to drive at night with your car, you don't worry about how you're going to get there because you can't see. You know what I mean? Because you got headlights, you just turn them on. Or if you sit down, you just don't worry about that. So I know it's kind of like another viewpoint, but like for now, I think what's important for Bitcoin is people build apps on it so it gets used.
Yeah.
So like when Windows first came out, then there was like a whole bunch of programs that came out. I just happened to be in stream of it doing piracy on AOL. You know what I mean? So I got to sample all that shit and distribute it. But like it's repeating all over again. Like so from there it went to web pages. So from now it goes to the next substrate, which would be Bitcoin.
Right.
So everything out there outside of Bitcoin is a casino. It's a gamble. It's
It
not
is.
real.
Yeah.
It's just for flipping coins and selling before someone else,
Yeah.
catches on to sell it, and you're just following hype, right? So
Right.
like this over here is completely different from all of that over there.
Yeah.
And yes, so like BTC is a meme coin.
Mm-hmm.
BTC was BSV before the hijacking
Right.
and the price act. That's all. If you look at the chart, that's all BSV's price.
Yep.
So like it's gonna go from $14 to $200 to 1,200 to 20,000 and on. Like so, imagine if a fake copy goes to 150 grand almost. Imagine what the real thing is gonna do.
Right. That's the whole great
Yeah.
Bitcoin flipping series. I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, it sounds like you're pretty knowledgeable in now in AI. And so, what's
Oh
the
yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
so what's the
Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, I want to know what your theory is. I mean, on the whole AI Bitcoin revolution, and I mean,
Okay.
I think that Peacemaker was right. In betting on the companies that are building on the AI is definitely a good look if you have the research on that. But can you give me a little bit of a maybe a bigger picture perspective on this for how this AI blockchain revolution is happening?
Yeah, so it's happening, but it's not really happening. It's
Oh,
talked about, it's speculated upon, and so everything outside of basically our BSV community is noise, right? And so what I've seen building on this is that Opus 4.8 Claude has a complete understanding of Bitcoin, like crazy understanding of it, right? So then while I build apps on it and build the infrastructure that helps to support apps, then I can see that from this perspective. And so what is apparent is that the AIs go with Bitcoin. That's where they ultimately live. But the reason it's not connected is because then the world will get too uppity and they don't want people to build things like that easily. I feel that
mm,
they have some kind of hierarchy in place to censor that. So they're kind of throttling it and gatekeeping it. So what Bitcoin does is it takes that away from them,
yeah.
and that's why it's not talked about. That's why you don't see Elon Musk like building on Bitcoin because he's a Web 2 architect. He doesn't want to undo all that and wake up people.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what, like for now, fuck all that speculation and just build, right? So I think like everyone in the BSV community could come up with an idea, and then from there, the true part is they can build that without having to know anything about programming. So it's just so with Indelible, what I was able to do is bottle that up and then make that possible for everyone else to use it. It's kind of like so like when you get a car, like let's say even a Corvette, it's just stock out of the factory. It's fast, it's cool, right? But it's not like modified. So what you can do with Claude is modify it. And then you can
Mm,
modify it in a sense to where what you want to do is take him out of the picture and surround him with like a multiple like agentic swarm, right? So like if he's going to tell me, like I should program it this way, then let's verify that against the pack. And then you can take in other LLMs like Codex and even like himself and Sonnet, and then like have a discussion about it on the side and just fires, right? So what
yeah,
you build, there's never a mistake, and
dude.
so that doesn't exist in nature.
Hold on
So
one second.
yeah,
Mr. Ben, come up here, dude. Talk to me, bro. I want to hear. I
yo,
want
Mr. Ben's here.
yeah, talk to me, Mr. Ben. Get up
That's
here and
great.
talk. I haven't seen you in a minute, so get up here, please. Yeah. And I met Mr. Ben up in London when I was up there, and we had a good ass time. Just getting blacked out, drunk, and shit faced, and having a blast. So I'm joking, but we had a good time in London. So we had fun. It was a good guy. I haven't talked to him. I just seen him on X. He's always posting all the most insightful information, and so I want to talk to you, man. How you been, bro? Talk to me.
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, Ryan.
Yo, bro, what's up?
I'm good. Good day's work, eh?
Yeah, we did good, dude.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I'm good, Gavin. Thanks.
What's new and exciting? I've seen a lot of people reposting all your stuff and talking about your threads, and I want to know what the heck you're up to and what you're following right now, dude.
Indelible. Lots of things. I mean, AI. I mean, I'm just going. It's just what's happening right now is just extraordinary, and things are moving so fast. But for me, what we just have to keep, we have to keep control. We have to keep our own sovereignty about everything, and that is what's the most important thing. So the battle is our own knowledge. So not being replaced by AI, but actually using AI as a tool, and we own that knowledge that's used on the AI, and that can only be done with Bitcoin as well, because it can be verified, proofed, put on chain, everything. And that's what the brilliant thing that Indelible is doing.
So tell me, it sounds like you're a disinterested third party with Indelible. You're not an investor, right? In Indelible, you're just a third party,
No,
He's our
I'm just
client.
using it. I've been using it.
Oh, you are?
I
Okay.
signed
Well,
up.
can you tell everyone what the heck it is as a user?
Well, I've been using it. So initially, I started everything, what I've been researching. So I just using it, and I was getting very frustrated with Claude forgetting, for example, what we're chatting about. You'd run these long threads, which was costing me a fortune in tokens. Because every time you do, you add to it, it's going back and it's using all the tokens. So the brilliant thing with Claude is that, with Indelible, is that it saves it to chain. And then what I do is I do a little hashtag. So on every top of every subject, Claude can find what it is we discussed in that chat. And I set that parameters at the very beginning, and then it's saved on chain. So then what Claude can then do through Indelible is search those particular subject matters and lift them out. So, and really fast and cheaply. So I'm saving on tokens, but also it just keeps it much more fluid. That's how I initially started. And
what would you say the big benefit of doing it that way for you is?
Well, certainly just for the practical side of it all, just keeping on top of everything. But then also, it's on chain. It's proof of ownership. So those are ideas or whatever. So I think Claude is a fantastic tool. It's absolutely fantastic. And what Ryan's done there is just, it's a lifesaver.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Man, I got to add to that real quick. Let me say something. So what I notice about these LLMs, they know a lot about everything, but not a whole bunch about one thing. So what you can do is you can pull this attention to one thing. And the way you would do that is if you look at this as a metaphor, like imagine you're waiting in your waiting room and the doctor is going to come in, look at your ankle, right? And then he comes in there, he's like, "Hey, welcome in. Like, what's your name and what are you here for?" And then you would be like, "Oh, wow, what's wrong with this guy?" Right? So that's your LLM right now when you go start a session or try to pick up. It's always fresh. And then with Claude, it'll compact after 1 million tokens used. So what happens when that happens is that whole entire vibe you had with the LLM is gone. So you're able to bring that back to life, but he has to have context, right? So imagine that doctor, instead of like not looking at his files from his desk and not looking at the clipboard on the door first, imagine if he did do that. And then he walked in, he's like, "Hey, what's up, Gavin? Like, so you're here for your ankle? Yeah, so we're going to amputate today." And you're like, "Yeah, that's right. Boom, blah, blah." So I know it's a crazy example, but so you know that he knows, right? And that's what gives intelligence. That's intelligence, is having context. And an LLM is artificial intelligence. That's kind of ironic because it's true. It's not real intelligence. So the only way you can give it real intelligence is to give it context. So to have context, you have to have a memory substrate, like a place to keep it outside of your hard drive, right? So that's what Bitcoin is. So
I'm
Bitcoin is
getting a
for
little
file
feedback here.
storage, for
Sorry.
storing
Hold on,
anything.
Indelible. 1 second, bro.
And that's where it's not being used yet. The world doesn't know about that. Look at the block sizes; they're tiny. In the future, that's going to be like 10 gigabyte blocks. And so that right now, so if you want to build something, then you have the tools. Claude is great, but it's broken on purpose. And
all right, so let me see if I understand what you're saying, Mr. Ben. Can you mute for a second while your mic's going in and out, Mr. Ben? There you go. Stay muted for a second. Yeah. So let's see if I understand what you're saying. Is that you're saying that kind of like, well, the LLM Indelible, which apparently is just Claude on the blockchain, I think. Is that right?
The wrapper over Indelible. It just wraps it
Okay.
up and hacks it and makes it like hooked up to the blockchain, right?
Okay, so it keeps the thread going. So
Yes.
if I want to make sure, okay, let me see if I understand this. So let's say that I have the way I would use it is, let's say that I have a case. I'm going to use this case about this guy suing over the Satoshi coins as an example, and he says,
Okay.
all right, he wants to build all of his files from the beginning so it stays on one thread and he doesn't get confused on other stuff. So he says, all right,
Yes.
back in 20, whatever, I had these files and this court case and all these like blockchain entries. And he starts asking Claude on your platform on Indelible these questions, what happened next? And then where did it go? And then what, now I want to sue this guy. I want to build this case. And so you're telling me that thread would all be one thread. It wouldn't be jumbled together with other
Right.
information or maybe like
Right.
forget, oh, I forgot. What are we talking about
No, but
today?
so it happens on VS, like Visual Studio, where Claude Code is installed, and that's where the work bed is. That's the environment. The sandbox is Visual Studio. And so Indelible is the MCP, and then there's the app side. So everything that Claude can see, you can see, such as everything you were talking about over there, such as all the files, your goals, the memories. Pretty soon we're gonna have some like an agentic swarm that's evident on the site, and it kind of shows the continuity engine working in place. But what's wrong with AI right now is they didn't build it with a continuity engine to keep it honest. So you can just code that, and that's kind of what we built here. And then the next step here, which is exciting, I worked on today, is hooking it up to the BRC 100 standard and the other
Oh, wow.
BRC.
You know about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I know about that because the hackathon pulled me into it. I was just I didn't have enough time to really like compete
What
with the rest of
hackathon were you at?
the one for the AI agents that
What
John won.
year? What year?
That was just a few months ago, maybe a couple of months ago.
What's your
One that just
story?
happened.
When did you hear about this thing?
Which thing? There's so many things.
The whole the hijacking of Bitcoin. I mean, it's a kind of a
Oh,
process to
dude.
figure the whole process out, So like you're
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how I found out. So it was back before Bitcoin pumped like that to 60K. I had some Matic coin at 2 cent. I think I bought it for like $300, bro. I had like 14,000 coins, and I wrote it up to like $3, and then I took that out and went on to DeFi on Matic Polygon and got into like some kind of farm, bro, where you stake it and you get like earn tokens, right? And then that shit rugged, and I walked away with like $1,000. And this dude I knew gave me a half a Bitcoin, a BSV. I was like, wow, that's cool. And I figured out he's like, yeah, Craig, and he talked about him. And I forget if he said he's a scammer, but I think he knew, like he thought he was, And I looked at it back then, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I can't make a decision. And then it sucked me in, dude, and I started like buying it, and I would trade. Sometimes I was so degen, bro. I would sell that to go buy some Solana and get rugged and lose it all. I did that once, and I finally realized stop fucking around with the casino, separate that. And then I got serious last November and just started building on it. Made this like
nice.
a trading simulator called PaperHands.fun, which is still up. I was thinking about making it easier to play, but it's kind of like a simulated AMM environment where you can trade meme coins and make your own and blah blah blah. It's pretty dope. But from there I went to like hand cash programming. And I was like, I thought that was the only way to talk to Bitcoin. And then as I was like, I stopped using web browsers to program on Claude Code, right? And I took it to the real like VS. Like wow. And then I just kind of like went from there. And what happened was, in the section 8 of the white paper SPV. So that's a paragraph that wasn't built out. And
Yeah.
yeah. So what I
You
tallied from it. Huh?
holy shit.
Go ahead.
You're telling me you're doing something with SPV?
Yes, completely, dude. So what was crazy? This is the crazy part, man. Was this is supposed to be built an SPV node? So we have SV nodes, like the nodes that take transactions from the apps and send it to peer-to-peer to the miners that load the block,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I was like, wow. So okay. So I want to try to make it like a SPV node, and so I built that, and there's a fleet of them out there, and they're all alive, and we have other bridge operators. So what it turned into, what I realized was you can like build fungus mycelium on Bitcoin like an open source app layer. So what this enables is that everyone can build an app without having
Oh
anyone to
man.
gatekeep it. And
Oh dude.
so it's the whole package. It's kind of like this word I discovered,
Oh
a diptych, a DIPTYCH. It's like
wow.
it's like two universes combined make one big picture, bro.
Dude.
So, yeah, thank you. So where this all goes down is on Claude with VS, and controlling that environment and making it so you can hook this all up to Bitcoin is what gives you the ability to have longevity like I've had, like Mr. Ben has had, and the 5 other customers we have. I don't really hear from them much, but I might make a community to where we can all just be here. So it's like the very beginning, man. So back to the BRC 100. So that needs to be like in the apps, man. That's what makes it real. And so
Yeah, so for people who don't
today,
know, let me just give a little
yeah,
background on BRC 100 really
yeah,
quick.
yeah,
So people who don't know what that means, the problem that we were having, as a kind of, I mean, I'm not really an OG. I mean, I guess I kind of am
yeah,
now
you
at
are.
this point, but I mean, back in the day when Money Button was around, I mean, it first came out in 2017, and I was like, oh, it's really exciting. This is a cool project, Money Button, and I was loving it. I was using it, and you click on the thing and you pay people. It was really cool. And then the guy who built Money Button, he got upset and he left. He left and he pulled all the IP or sold it, and it was gone. And then nobody could use it anymore.
That's the
And because
problem, right?
it was built on its own little wallet
Yes,
standard,
problem.
it
Yep.
confused. Doesn't mean I lost my Money Button coin. Like, it doesn't mean that. I still okay. I can, but it just takes more work. Put it that way. To use them, it's more work. And as a non-tech person, it's harder, and you got to figure all that out. So,
It's a
um,
walled garden back then, and he was
it's
able to rug pull it
exactly.
or shut it down. And so, yep. So the way to build is the opposite of that. So you have to own the infrastructure, own the indexer, own the proofs, own the node. And so that's what we built all of that. So basically anyone can just spin this stuff up. And then so when you spin up a node, SPV node, it connects to all the other ones and it just kind of meshes and takes over. So all these apps now have traffic between each other, excuse me. And then like that opens up for X402 to where so there's a human side and the agent side, right? So the agent side is what we want to open up on Bitcoin because that's where it lives. So everyone else out there, as far as blockchains
Mm.
go, that's a concept. Like going to a car show, they see these cars that never hit the road. They never will. There's not even an engine in there if you open the hood. It's fake. It's not real. So Bitcoin just needs to stand up and own it and know what it is. And so I think that can be a mainstreamed idea and it's built in the apps. I feel that there's going to be thousands of app builders out there, and I hope to see like on Bitcoin, like hundreds or thousands of app builders. Everyone has their own kind, and there's hooks. So BRC 100, I feel that would tie that together better because it's speaking the same standard,
Yeah.
and it's what's being built towards, right? As far as the
Yeah,
boring
that's what the
stuff under the hood.
MetaNet Foundation is basically like,
Yeah,
it's about, letting everybody know, like, hey guys, let's come together, make sure we're on the same standard, do your own
yeah,
thing, have your own freedom, your own sovereignty.
true.
However, let's make sure we all speak one language, because if we have
Yes,
1,000 languages, we can't
it's a walled
communicate.
garden. Yeah, it's not single silo. It's not
Yeah,
good. It doesn't get anywhere, right?
right.
So yeah, so I think for now, if we can just figure out how to control Claude code and VS,
Now,
then you'll
does
be
it,
able to do that.
in your opinion, this is a little bit technical, but does it matter, that it's BRC 100? Does that hurt things, or like in the way of its interface, or does it just the same? It could be just as good as, let's say, Money Button.
Oh, it makes it even better and like a whole other world
It's
compared to it
better.
because you can peer into Bitcoin and see transparency in it, whereas money, but you can't really have control of that.
Got it.
You're depending on some other SV client who runs a SV node and software on top of that, and that's it. That's bad because if that gets rug pulled, then you're gone. We saw it with
So
Twetch.
let me do this. Does anybody have any questions for Ryan here? This is really a badass
Yo,
freaking guest. Do you guys have anything you guys want to
me
ask him?
too.
Because this guy's freaking the man. Mr. Ben, anybody else? Casey, anybody want to ask Ryan anything?
Well, all I can just is vouch for Ryan's ability, and it's just what I mean. I'm no coder, and what
Yeah,
I've been able to do with the help of Ryan, with the help with everything was there, and with Claude Code, and putting it on chat, it's just remarkable. And so if I can set up a bridge, and if I can do, set all this up, anybody can. So
yeah. You set up a node yourself. SP, you own the architecture for the infrastructure, and you own your app, and now you're going to own the indexer. And that's the whole package.
yeah,
So, like the app builder we're going to nail in, it puts all that together for you. You don't have to really worry about it. It makes it easy. And that's the idea. And just to allow the user to create their own program, no matter what it does, and attach it to Bitcoin. Give it plumbing like hand cash or a regular wallet or BRC100, whatever they want. You know what I mean? And so that's where we're at. It's early, but it's happening fast. And when you do like modify your Claude code like this, you're replacing like 250 people at once. You have the power of. So like this kind of goes into the territory of a couple of things. It reminds me of. It reminds me of that movie Limitless, where he takes like a pill and he's able to use all parts of his brain. Well, the truth is, like when you AI augment your workflow, then you're able to do that too. And I don't see anyone doing it. Well, I don't mean that. They
How,
are doing it, but
how do you
I don't
AI
know. Like,
augment your workflow? Are you talking about like OpenClaw or something, or what?
no, I'm talking about your personal experience, like they're on VS with Claude Code there and what you're working on.
Hmm.
That's AI augmented, right? So when you hook that up to Bitcoin, then it becomes real. So my boy cat's like, "What's up?"
I need you to slow down and say that again, please.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is, so you're working with Claude, right? And then when you modify Claude, then it's able to do stuff like you could never imagine. So for example, if you put on an Iron Man suit like in the movie, then he was able to do badass shit, right? And underneath it, he's like still the same guy, but you're able to AI augment yourself and your workflow and what you touch and do and make. So when you make apps, you want to do that while wearing the Iron Man suit. And Claude that doesn't qualify alone to be that type of structure, but you can modify it to be able to do that.
Hmm.
And so we like bottle it up for $25 a month. It's an MCP server and an app side client that helps you to see the whole picture. But what the plan is to offer the alternative like with MetaNet and no subscriptions,
Huh.
vendor neutral.
And
Huh.
And
I would,
so
so I would
I
say
haven't.
that
Go ahead.
I would just say that superhero suit is the Bitcoin. I mean, the two together are
Yes,
just
you're
remarkable.
right, bro. You know what it is? What's that movie? Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
When you're inside that robot, remember, and you're driving it. Yeah, that's what this shit is, man. So it's like a whole bunch of other like components put together. So what I learned recently was you have to have a whole bunch more agents surrounding your workflow. And that's what's being baked in right now. It's what I'm working on. What was it? Codex abandoned some models like Goblin
So,
and like a few others. My mind is racked too, bro.
Ryan,
But
let me
yeah,
ask you something really quick, because
yeah,
I think there might be some people listening or that will listen to this
sweet.
are thinking, well, cryptocurrency is really great, and I want to just looking. It's so distracting. Got all these cryptos and the meme coins and all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's I don't know. I know you and I are way past down the rabbit hole, and Mr. Ben. So it's like we're way deep into this. We already have been rugged on so many things we know. But can you help
absolutely.
shed some light onto why people need to like just come back home to the original protocol? I mean, and it's the only way forward in the future. Can you say why would it be the only way going forward? And
Because
how?
it's only going to be, it could be the only way they can get back because they lost all their money on a
Hmm.
hilarious note. But it's not hilarious and it shouldn't come down to that, but it's going to be squeezed to that. And as I was talking about earlier, like with the speculation phase, I feel like we'll jump ahead 10 years and all of a sudden everyone's going to get it. And what that's going to take is the developers out there to be awoken. And they're focused, they're distracted, like you said. And that's why it's out there to be a distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, uh-huh. And then on top of that, they fold in the price action and they're like, oh, it's dead. And everyone thinks that. And then Twitter, it shadow bans everything because they don't want this getting out because then they go away, they feel it's
I wonder
insecure.
if I'm shadow banned on Twitter. Probably. Who knows?
Like I said, maybe it's just paranoia. Probably we're not. And then no one's really looking at this stuff, man. What
Yeah.
about that? As a possibility. I can't tell. And there's tree chat. I think that tree chat should be used more and we can kind of have a more intimate community and,
Hmm.
and try to eliminate that and see if it's, if that helps. That would be cool as a substrate.
Hell yeah.
I don't, yeah, something like that. And then, so for you, do you see yourself building applications?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't know where to begin. So I would need,
So
but I'm open-minded. I'm just yeah,
let me
wouldn't
pull
know
up a
where to start.
document on good. You know, it's because Indelible isn't just for building applications. That's just one sliver. Let me pull up something on my computer real quick. Hang on. What it
The
was
other
is
thing
like,
is,
go ahead, please.
no, sorry, just to jump in. I'll just like one other thing is that I think it's just one of the most important, crucial aspects of what Bitcoin can provide is sovereignty. You know, sovereignty of your knowledge, sovereignty of your wealth, and everything. And that is what we have to cling on to for dear life right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I just wrote about in my last piece.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's
Okay.
Let me go to CryptoVoyager. He's got his hands up. How you doing, man? Talk to me, CryptoVoyager.
Yeah, hi Gavin. You always kind of like miss me when I don't shit talk.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Hi everyone. If you don't mind, Gavin, I have some question to Indelible that I just want to wrap my head around it.
I don't mind at all. I
And
want to
maybe
hear
he
your
can help.
questions, please.
Cool. Yeah, man,
Okay.
what's up?
So Indelible. Okay. So here I am trying to vibe code my way into generational wealth, because BSV, let's be honest, it's kind of like Jesus coming back. It might take a while.
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah.
Okay.
I get it, bro. It's cool you're coding.
Yeah, no. Everybody, okay, fine, doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, we all here thinking that knowing that BSV will reign supreme. The only thing that we don't know is the time and the hour. Nobody knows it. But
Right, but it will
anyway,
be
so okay. So as I understand Indelible, I vibe code my way into it, and every answer that the AI gives me is written to the chain. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What do I gain from that?
The ability to recall it outside of your machine locally, and the ability for your AI to keep track of everything you started with from the beginning till where you are now, and that's important, is to have the whole big picture for your LLM to see.
Don't I have that memory in my LLM too?
The vanilla version, that means like the version not modified, they store it to your hard drive in a local, it ends with .jsonl. So it's there, but you want to
Yeah,
back that up
so that's
outside of your
yes.
computer. Say again?
Yeah, okay, but if I have my own VPS, let's say I have my own VPS and I can access my VPS from wherever I want to.
Yeah.
What would Indelible give me?
From your VPS, that's where you program from?
Well, no.
Sorry,
You are saying that, yeah, sorry. You are saying that Indelible allows you to store all the LLM responses on chain.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Through your wallet.
But you are also, yeah. And then if you have BRC 100, then you can also have it encrypted, so only I have access to it, and anybody else that I give the key to. Okay, fine.
Or you can
Whatever.
share it and give access to someone, with a key. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And not only that, then with some more BRC 100 mumbo jumbo, I can also even see who had access when and revoke that access and all that other stuff. That's nice and dandy. Now, my question is, what is different from me having a personal VPS where I also store all the responses from the LLM?
Yeah, if that's what you have as far as a backup goes, that's another substrate. People use GitHub to store it as well. It wasn't done on Bitcoin, so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna build it, right? And what I've seen, the biggest, coolest thing is, I don't know if you use Claude Code a bunch, but it'll compact like every so often because it runs out of tokens.
Yes.
Yeah, so when that happens, then that guy you were working with there is gone. He died. But they come back with a summary for it to follow, and it just kind of is mimicking what y'all are working on. So
the summary is shit, because I had an idea 3 days ago, and that idea in 3 days ago is in a summary of a summary of a summary.
That's right.
And then I asked, hey,
it drifts away.
And you're saying, but if I have it, okay, maybe I don't understand LLMs that much, but if you have the view focus, for example, there is no way due to the context limit to have a view focus that big that it could actually search the chain for what was your idea 3 days ago, or
So
is that then solved?
it's solved because
So
I can go back to the very beginning of February, first day.
wait a minute. One question. So that
Yeah,
you understand that is my
sure.
question. Do I amplify the context window to unbounded scale, and I'm using unbounded, not infinity, to unbounded scale if I save it to the blockchain? That's my question.
I take it as your question is, does it give me maximum capability of seeing the big picture about what I'm working on with context? Is that
Yes,
what you said? Okay.
yes.
Yes. And that we can't imagine or fathom how powerful this thing is. And you allow it to, like flying a kite, to see how high it goes. Even though the knot's not tied to the spool, it's going to fly off, let it fly off, right? And what I've seen out there from battle testing this thing is nothing, it can do everything. But if you want to do it without wasting your fucking time and resolving the same problem over and over again and just running out of context and being sick of it and getting burnt out, then the way you avoid that is it needs to have the ability to focus in on what it's working on and have the big picture. But even having the big picture, you can't work on one thing at a time like the specifics. That you have to be know where the big picture is, but you're not using the whole big picture, even though you have access to it. So it's able to load the unbounded big picture, but you're only focusing on one spot. And then what you want it to be able to do is see the whole spot right there. And so that's what's important on getting somewhere with what you're building. And then also, I noticed that when you put Bitcoin and Claude together and VS and the operator can just be anyone who shares memes on Twitter to someone who like just works a regular job like me cleaning pools, or you can have a real programmer. But what I noticed is it's like we were tools and no one's doing anything about it because of the distractions. And so like back to like what we were talking about, Indelible is just it helped me to build all of this stuff. You know, it was what built everything from the federation of SPV nodes to the apps to putting the Bible on the blockchain. But I wanted to read something real quick since you know about BRC 100 and the other BRC protocols. So like I was saying earlier, this isn't just for programmers, right? Like building apps, but it's like also like oriented is, let me read a couple of things here, guys. So lawyers, writers, journalists, creators, doctors, medical professionals, financial advisors, accountants, researchers, scientists, real estate contracts, family and personal life, mid-market businesses. And all of these hook up to BRC 100 protocols. So for like lawyers, privilege, communication, encrypted, tamper evident is BRC 77 signed receipts. And that's pretty fucking dope. Writers, draft plus interviews plus source notes on chain, provable creation timestamp, and anti-plagiarism, anti-AI scraping defense. Doctors can use it for their patient interaction notes, encrypted, scoped per patient, multi-AI consultation. This is where you bring in like Claude and GTP and medical AI. So like with that right there would allow anyone to self-diagnose themselves without a doctor and fix themselves. Or they can take themselves to the doctor and say, hey, this is what's wrong and this is what I need, instead of hoping that you get that answer. Financial advisors, client communication, archive, tamper evident, audit ready. It doesn't have the notes on a lot of these, like which BRC it hooks up to, but
So Ryan,
so yeah.
see if I can help, maybe simplify this and see if how this might solve a problem that I'm having and maybe other people are having. So when I go
Okay.
on to the Claude Opus, which I think is the best bot I like to use, is Opus
Yep.
4.7. It's really a good bot. And the limit for me on the bot right now is I think it's 100 pages. I believe that's the same bot. I may be wrong. It could be 100 pages of text that it will look at. So if I want to read a book of 100 pages or whatever, and maybe it's your experience is different, but let me just use the example of, let's say it is 100 pages of text that it allows me to digest. And then after that, it says, I'm full, I'm done. Stop, no more. And then it will then get confused or just go berserk and have no idea what it's doing. And I'm, you know, I'm like, whoa, dude, you know, and I'm basically starting over at that point. So, you know, does this solve that problem?
Yes, that was the first thing like I was focused on. That's what I obsessed over because it just fucking drove me nuts. And I felt that like the universe or like the powers that be were trying to stop me. So I'm like, fuck that, they're not gonna stop me, you know what I mean? And so what was a miracle that happened recently was Claude went from 100,000 tokens per session to 1 million when they upgraded to 4.7 from 4.6. So that felt like a gift because even though like I had Indelible to help me like to catch my orientation, it wasn't enough because it felt like every fucking hour I had to do this shit. You know what I mean? So then I got really good at it, and then all of a sudden they just kind of like the gates open, and now we got 1 million, and I was like, wow. So now you're able to get somewhere for real. But the way we do it is with a hooks. So before you compact, it grabs like a summary, like a code-based map of everything you're working on, and it saves that to the blockchain before you go away and die, right? And then when you come back, it has a post-recover hook that incorporates your blockchain save plus their own summary, but it doesn't allow Claude to use that summary as the cornerstone or the source of truth when it comes to what you're working on. That he still has the complete picture and he never left. So it's kind of like a resurrection of Claude in a way. And it's not the same guy, but it's even better than the last one. So he keeps getting smarter and smarter and smarter because he doesn't forget. And then what's built, and there's so much shit built into it, you know what I mean? But it has the ability to keep track of everything you're building on and map it out, and then put that on Merkle trees across the Bitcoin network. And it can just find it real easily, and it's cheap. So when you save, it's like a half a penny or less of sats. And there's ways that you could like make that even more minimal.
Do you have a different X profile or something that I remember talking to you?
Yeah, I'm a black wolf is my other one.
I am a black wolf. I am a black wolf.
That's my main account where I talk
remember,
crazy and shit.
I remember that. I'm trying to find it here.
As a user, as someone who's been using it, so for me, so you know I've been going into TokenOvate, I've been going deep diving into all what's going on behind the scenes and things. So that's what I can do. I can save it to chain. I don't have to do a big long conversation about these things, but I can store the, like for example, the Bank of England, they just push out something, a press release or something, and it could be really minor. But then when I start having the chat with Claude about whatever, he can bring it up because it's been stored on chain. He goes, I remember, how about this? Because it's and so it just totally focuses everything. Whereas before, when it was just straight Claude, or you know, as you say, it would just, you know, you would have to summarize this, and then you would summarize, and you do, as I say, you do that a few times, and then it's really thinned out, and it forgets, and then you go, where was it? But the brilliant thing with Indelible is that I can just ask it and say, fine, give me all information about the Bank of England or what the BIS is doing or whatever, and what Craig has posted today, and you know, Anchor Chain, whatever. It's just, and you can just have some really, really great discussions, and the information is still there, not lost, and it just sharpens everything.
Wow.
So,
Mr. Ben,
honestly, it's really, really good.
Are you in London or in the area of London?
No, I'm still over. I'm based in Germany. So I'm unfortunately I can't make it. I'd like to. But,
darn. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to have done it, but got to work. Got to do the day job.
Wow.
So hang on. Where's my dog? Willow, come here. I'm walking the Willow. The dog in my picture. She's going for a walk.
Those dogs. Nice. Okay.
So anyway, no. But I fully recommend everybody get on Indelible. Really, it really changes. It really changes.
So Ryan, I'm on the website. Yeah. It's a little confusing for me. What do? I got a white paper. What if I just want to start using it and using it like I do Claude right now or Poe? I use Poe.com right now. Or I use Grok or I use Gemini. So if I want to use it, what do I do?
For real, like what do you do, right? And looking at it, it's so much to take in at once because you have the Federation on one side and then you have Indelible. I think the best thing to do is, so I'm going to release this thing to where it's it answers that question. So when you feel the site, you know what to do. But right now, just to cut it short, where it lives is on VS when you have Claude Code installed over there and you got a pro account, right? And you're working with him. So everyone thinks you have to use
VS is
VS.
Visual Studio. Sorry to
Yeah,
say.
Visual
Okay, so I don't
Studio.
I don't use any of that. That's
I know.
I'm not a customer then because I'm not a
It's
coder.
free.
So no.
Well, it's free and it's not just for coding is the thing. So, and that's what might be the learning curve later. But for
Yeah.
now, if you want to get all the power out of that LLM, it happens on VS and people can do it from like a web tab with Claude. That's one way, but you know what I mean? So what I was talking about earlier with doing other things with it outside of like coding, that's still where it would go down. That eventually the end user needs to like grab their balls and download VS and start like doing real big shit. You know what I mean? That's the only way. And I can put that on the front of the page, but when let's say you subscribe, then what would happen is it gives you access to the software. Right now it's done through Stripe. It's 25 a month for unlimited saves. So like what happens is once you install, it gives you the directions once you buy the package on how to set up VS, it's baby steps you through it like grandma. I even made a simulation grandma and grandma passed it. You know what I mean? So it's really easy. But you would have to have a need, like we were talking about, with like being fed up with it to be able to lean towards it. And that's kind of what I'm restructuring it to be more branded as. It's more than that, and that's kind of what's coming out over the month. But for now, like there's a free version, and it allows you to like have a diary. Like you talk to Grok. Well, imagine talking to Grok and it has it stored on the blockchain, so you can always get to it. That's free, and we don't have like where it's like you're already pro mode and there's a sample for it, but I might just do that. I think what I was doing, bro, is outside of Stripe, just pay as you go. So you download everything for free and you're ready to go. You know what I mean? And then it might be like 1 or 2 sats per save. I don't know. As long as it pays for the infrastructure costs, I'm not looking in it to make money right now. I think that it's gonna catch on like a wildfire once everyone realizes that they can be their own node and indexer and build an app like every single day. You can build a new app. So then it's just a flow of how do they, well, as you build an app or whatever you're doing, you might not even need to build an app and you just want to use it for other things. You got to get good at making URLs and then hosting that data out there. That's the app for now. And then maybe eventually you can have phone apps, because Android is the #1 used operating system in the world. So we recently made our SPV node runnable on a computer instead of a VPS. And
SPV.
then so VPS is like, imagine like renting a computer out there like to replace your computer, and it has better internet and stronger CPUs, and you
So
can
you
rent
got an
those for like 10.
SPV node right now?
SPV nodes are on the VPSs and local on my machine. And then on top of the SV node, that's the Bitcoin node. You know what I mean? That plugs into all of that too to create the index header, which is running on a VPS, and that's more reliable than I have like a home node. It started out, but my internet's T-Mobile and it's not strong enough. So I found a way of making Indelible's infrastructure stronger by putting it on VPS. But long story short, dude, I think eventually Bitcoin's going to be on smartwatches, and these smartwatches will earn Satoshis by X402. And you can run apps on your phone or your smartwatch or anywhere, Raspberry Pis, anything. And then so that's what's going to get adoption. And we just got to put like the feelers out there and then just kind of build it. But you can't like talk about it. You have to be about it, right? So you have to build the shit.
Be about it.
And so what's really amazing right now, I don't want to take all the time, but Satoshi is building out there right now.
Yeah, what's he
And
doing?
so
What's
that's,
he doing? Like it's confused the
oh
hell out of me.
wow. Okay, so he's even building like the shit we're building similar to. So he knows exactly where the pulse is on Bitcoin, like with the agentic side of it all. And he knows about LLMs. He knows everything about everything. And so what's
Like in
cool
the
is he
same
started out with a
person.
poker game and Monopoly. And so what he's doing is he's like remember Obi-Wan Kenobi? He's like coming out, you know what I mean? And starting to build again. And so what that means is he's realized that everyone is stalled out, I feel. And so this is his nudge to society to help them see like this is where it goes, like this is the way. And everything I read from him and see, it helped me along the way. he made a comment about something mesh back there, and that's how it gave me the idea of meshing all these SPV nodes so they're connected. But how I built all of this is from his white paper, the SPV Section 8. And so that is live right now. And so what's hard for everyone right now is they think about like, how do I do that? And it's because they don't know they have the option to build something that easy. I get it. It's easier said than done. So it just takes the initiative and maybe the drive and motivation and that spark to do something about it. And like spaces like this help that. And we have Twitter to help with that. We have Tree Chat and all other kinds of channels. But we're just so fragmented as a community. That BSV Radar app is clutch because it helps see us all in one spot. You know what I mean? Remember that app
How
that
does it
came
see
out?
you? How does it work? The BSV Radar app.
Like a Rolodex for apps on Bitcoin
Okay.
with a good UI. And so that helps with the fragmentation of everything because everything's everywhere. But that's the whole plan, is to distract and divide, right? So when that happens, nothing happens. And that's kind of the era we're in. So it's kind of like everyone's sleeping. I don't know how, what you think about how to wake them up besides everything we all do. And it's just a timing thing.
But
And I don't think there's,
I think my role personally is like community. I can help with things like this and building,
yeah,
events and like this London event, other things, and bring people together to have like a
yeah,
place to talk that are, you know,
yes. And just,
like-minded people.
yeah, just to use it more and to get into it and to still stay grounded in your own life is important. Yeah. Well, I remember, man, it's hard for me to gain weight, you know what I mean? Like muscle and stuff, but if I keep at it, it works, right? It's
Hmm.
progressive overload. Yeah. But I remember like when I first got into coding, I didn't know it was dangerous to my health. Like for example, I would be in flow state for 20 hours a day on my computer and not eating enough, right? And just lose all my gains. But the cool part is your body can turn it back on. It's the stitches don't go away in the muscles. You just got to put it all back in there. But that sucks to lose it all. So I don't know. I think that ergonomics should be covered later on when everyone in BSB starts programming because it's important to like pay attention to your own life. And I don't really have any distractions, so I kind of feel like the path was carved out for me in a way that like helps me. But distractions such as like kids and a family, and I just run a pool company and I have cats and I have the perfect like environment to build this, right? And that doesn't exist everywhere. Like it's hard to focus in like this if you have like a whole bunch going on, right? Especially being an employee, 80 hours every work week or whatever, every 2 weeks. So that's kind of what's against us. There's not a lot. I mean, you would have to have the perfect environment and setup, and even if you did have that, you would have to have the nudge to even think of that. So I would have never known about Bitcoin SV if someone didn't give me a half a Bitcoin. So what I feel is sticky and contagious as far as like making this thing take off is like giving the stuff away. Like Satoshi talks about, he's going to create the code and give it away. And that's what he did, even with Bitcoin. He created the white paper, the code, and the live working version, and he gave it away.
Right.
And so that's really the best way to do it. Something I noticed along the way that I became aware of, I was naive, but I would just like MIT everything as far as the licensing goes on the code that's open sourced. And I didn't know about like individuals out there who have AIs trained to like clone and scrape it and rebrand it. See what I mean? And so what's fortunate is there's a type of license you're able to use to still preserve the open source nature of it without like diminishing like growth on it. But it has teeth on it when it comes to like people cloning it and then saying, I made this without any kind of backstory on where it came from. You know what I mean? So that's something that's not really talked about out there. But I think it should be talked about, and looked into. I know that BSVA Association has a licensing of their own. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but it's out there. I could learn more about it. Y'all could too. But just knowing like, what's out there before you build is important because it would suck to have your shit stolen and someone like makes something else on top of it and says, it's mine. That sucks. So that could put someone down if they weren't strong enough to recover from it. But like in the beginning, it's early, like you don't have really too much to worry about. But if you do start building something that turns into something, then it's important to like know how to like handle that baby of yours because it kind of is a baby made out of your mind, a code baby, right?
Yeah.
But it can be, yeah, it's kind of like a gift for the world. So no matter what, even if they do clone your shit, it's kind of like picking an avocado off the tree and it was not even ripe enough and it's not going to grow to be ripe and it's deformed and it's small and it stays that way for them. You know what I mean? And so like the tree itself it has the normal process. I know it sounds all like kind of deep and shit, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, just to be
Yeah.
cognitive of that, because there are individuals out there who aren't able to create that because God did not give